What happened to the TIF bill?
I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure it out. As you know, we sent that over there. We sent over, it seemed to get linked somehow to the pay raise bill, and because of that, we're unable to get things out the last night, and it turned into a train wreck, quite frankly. It was a bill that certainly is extremely important to north central West Virginia, Morgantown, and Monongalia County.
Your district. So, your district.
Part of it is, absolutely. There's 6 senators represent that district. Myself, Senator Prezioso, Senator Beach, Edgell, Seipolt, and Bob Williams. There's 6 of them represent Mon County. So, it was extremely important to the Senate over there, and, it was not taken up. It got to 3rd reading and then put on the inactive calendar, as I understand it. And then discussions start digressing or whatever into magistrate pay and how many we would get covered and who would we bring up or who we would not. And they seem to be linked and neither moved because of lack of an agreement there.
So the issue was not the TIF bill per se. It was, as we said all along, it was what magistrates were going to get pay raises and when because magistrates are paid in 2 tiers, an upper and a lower, when or if the pay was going to be equalized, and it was a very sharp difference between some in the Senate and some in the House on that issue. Right now, so that caused the TIF bill to be held up.
That's appears to what have occurred, absolutely. And again, we sent over 2 bills, both the House bill and the Senate bill with the Senate version of the pay raise, and neither of those got taken back up. So it was never to get it into a conference, and I think the House would have preferred to have informal discussions, but probably needed to sit down, my speaker and myself and the governor, even if necessary, and our finance chairman, to get this thing ironed out. And rather than playing cat and mouse, and it was obvious to me that it was online to be a train wreck waiting to happen, unfortunately.
Is it possible during this budget...
But again, keep in mind that with the bills all were sitting in the House, there wasn't much more I could do at this point until we could get an active bill either acted upon into conference, if that was the way to go, but or whatever. So... it was frustrating, to say the least.
Is it possible that this week, even though you're working only on the budget by law, that there could be informal talks to try to sort out the magistrate and the TIF bills and put them on a special session next week? Is that possible or probable?
It is it's on the top of my list to do when I get returned to Charleston this afternoon. I haven't had an opportunity to have any informal discussions or formal discussions with the governor. I have with some of his staff. I think that they understand the importance of the bill as well, particularly the TIF bill, and from the comments I've read of the speaker, I think he would concur that he's requested that things be put on a special call. Governor's looking for an agreement, so I think it's a time to sit down and see where we are.
Senator, and of course you know this, but for the general public, that the governor, I would not speak for him, but I don't think he would want a special session next week on this and magistrate pay if there were not a solid rock agreement going into that session. He doesn't want a big fight going into 1 or 2 weeks. That's my observation.
The parties are entrenched in their positions as they were this week and not moving. It's crazy to pull us in there at $100, $100,000 a day or whatever it costs. Forget what it is, but if we're not going to reach an agreement, just sit there and tell each other no. That is not going to be on. I can assure you the governor's not going to let that happen. He will not call us in if there's not an understanding that we can dispatch of it in short order.
Senate President Jeff Kessler is with us. Senator, I am told by the developer, Jason Donahue, that of the TIF project, that if the TIF project is not approved, if the TIF legislation is not approved, then the new WVU baseball stadium, the development around it, the interchange is all off, dead. That they can't or won't do it. Was that your understanding?
that's, I haven't talked to Jason or any of the developers about it, but that's the whole purpose of the TIF, is to provide the source of dedicated funding to get it done, particularly the interchange, the ballpark as well. So it's huge for the university. It's huge for the area, not just the university. The university, it's not a university project, as you know, but they would be indirectly the beneficiary, because they would be able to at least have, I'm sure, some type of long-term lease agreement with the ballpark to cover the operation costs or whatever. So it was a win-win-win for everybody. You increase highways, you increase traffic, you increase property tax, you increase employment, you increase income tax, da-da-da-da-da-da. So there was no downside that I have seen whatsoever to the project, none.
I really thought, in being down there, and you just never know, I really thought in talking with the interested parties that something was going to be struck. In fact, I thought last Wednesday, I thought there was an agreement and things started to move. The logjam broke up. I really thought there was going to be a deal that would accommodate both the magistrate pay and the ballpark. Yeah,
and I'm still optimistic that will occur. I think unfortunately it got derailed and it was a train wreck, but the way it ended up coming down at the end, and I think everyone was extremely frustrated. But as I mentioned, there was not much more we could do in terms of legislative action, because the bills were passed over to the other house. And without being a conference of any kind, it was impossible to even sit down and have formal discussions or negotiations, or apparently more informal things going on. And I know the governor's liaison was even involved, trying to curry messages back and forth towards the end as we're on the floor in the last hour. But it was probably at that point obvious that that wasn't a way to really get the thing resolved. We probably need to have a sit down face to face and see where we are with this with the governor.
Senate President Jeff Kessler. Senator, thanks for coming on. We will keep an eye on it.
Okay, I'm an optimist, Hoppy. I'm still confident it will get done.
I know, but I went on your hand last week. You said it was going to get done. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying that you were confident it's going to get done.
I wish I had a crystal ball. I wish I had a crystal ball and was always right, but the only one I ever know that's always right's my wife.
Yeah. All right. Senator President Jeff Kessler.
I apologize, sweetheart. Huh?
Oh, you apologize to your wife. Okay. All right. Good talking to you. Thanks for coming on.